Welcome to episode 2 of R2P2, listeners. My name is Matt Pollard. I am a guest. You are not listening to Holding the High Line, nor are you listening to Sum It Up. I have taken over this podcast. Yes, I am whatever the Japanese word was for Lebensraum. I'm just doing that through all of the Colorado soccer podcast space. This is your actual host, Keith Richards. Keith, say hi.
So yeah, again, welcome to R2P2. As you can see, we have a guest this week. He is the managing editor of Burgundy Wave, co-host of Holding the High Line, Mr. Matthew Pollard, everyone's favorite ginger. He said hello already, but you can say hello again. Say hello.
Konnichiwa. Hello.
And then again, I'm Keith Richards. We also have my friend and co-host. You'll never find a more wretched hive of villainy. Well, wait, let me get this right. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than here at R2P2 with my co-host, Matthew Wick.
I mean, I just feel like embracing the dark side is the best thing to do. And since I can no longer be everyone's favorite ginger, I'm just happy with that role.
See, well, you always have a hat on, so we can't tell all the time.
Matt,
There's no ginger there.
You got some Daywalker stuff?
Yeah.
How
Wait,
so?
what is Daywalker stuff?
Like the other, you sunburn super easily, so similar melatonin. There's the a lot of men who don't have red hair will get patches of red in their beard or in their facial hair, stuff like that. So I would say like ginger adjacent tendencies without the full red hair, sunburn super easily, potato maxes and has a distrust of the British monarchy, like that kind of stuff.
Yep, Irish on my mom's side, English on my dad's side, so the sun is my enemy. And when I am able to grow out facial hair, it does have that shining fleck of red to it.
I hereby, as a certified card-carrying ginger, hereby grant you, or I affirm your daywalkerness.
Yes.
See, so sunburn is a thing I just find fascinating because I will never experience that in my life. I think it's the same process. Like my skin will get really like scorching hot, but it's not like sunburn. Like it doesn't hurt. It's just like an insulator, which kind of sucks also.
What's the comedian that's it's a black comedian? He's like, whenever I try and explain the cops to my white friends, I just liken them to the sun. Like they're omnipresent and they're always just hounding you.
I have no idea who you're talking about, but that's a really good. I like that bar, Matt.
All right, so let's get to what we're going to call some news from Coruscant, which there is not much news besides the international callouts, which there have been plenty of them all across the first team and Rapidsphere. Specifically with R2, we had Donovan Phillip, who's technically on the first team, but he's playing R2 right now. Got called up with St. Lucia, Jabari Dakota with Granada, and Zach Campagnolo getting his expected U19 call up for the international camps. It's the first international call up for Donovan and Jabari to their senior teams, which is amazing. And then, like I said, Zach gets called up pretty much every time there's a camp for US YNT. So we just continue the tradition of ruining the future of USNMT, and we do it proudly.
I do want to shout out former Rapid to former droid Colton Swan. Also got the call up with Zach Campagnolo to the U.S. Youth National Team. If you all will remember, they won the UEFA Friendship Cup together last year for Team USA.
And can I also, I'll yes and that, Matt, and say, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but like the scouting team at the Rapids, both for Rapids 2 players and for Rapids first team players, has like done such a good job of like cultivating like the second tier of CONCACAF nations. Like there's a legit like, have you played for Colorado Rapids or Colorado Rapids 2 in the time that Rapids 2 has existed? Have you been called up for a CONCACAF nation that's not the USA, Canada, or Mexico? We could build a best 11 for that, and I think beat a lot of other MLS Next Pro teams that could also field an 11 of that as well. So super excited to see what these players do. And I mean, we've got our own. It'd be a really good question at this point. What is like the collective Rapids, like Trinidad and Tobago all-time 5-a-side team look like as well? But
So we get TNT, St. Lucia, Grenada. Now, if we combine with switchbacks, we've got the Haitian boys. Like we can come out strong.
Yeah, I'm
Go on Island Boys on MLS and just get all out. So we missed out on the Brazilians, so that train's gone. We're going Island Boys now.
We still got Hoffa. We've got the Brazilian.
We do. So let's catch up on the last 2 weeks. Still looking for the first victory, but they at least still got 1 point against Sporting Kansas City 2, which we lovingly call the Sunshine Boys, Sunshine Band. I hope you get that reference, Matt. You know Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh yes, I know I knew the KC. I didn't know it was KC and the Sunshine Band. That's they've got it. Not Come On and Give Me Your Love. What am I thinking of? Not Let My Love Open Your Door.
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what songs they have. I just know who they are.
KC and the Sunshine Band video. Okay, I'm confusing songs. Never mind then. Oh, they've got Get Down Tonight, if that counts.
Okay, yes. We do know that one. But so they had a little Snow Classico 1.2, and they lost on pins. It was definitely a tale of two halves. They looked really good in the first half when the snow was only lightly falling. You could see toward the end of the half the ball was picking up speed because it wasn't so packed yet. It was starting to get a little swirly, but they did get the lead going into halftime with that beautiful cross from Kamani Stuart Baines over to Donovan Phillip, who had a sliding header, which you don't see a whole lot of. um, Looked great in the first half, and then the second half just fell apart. The weather got bad. It looked like Kansas City dealt with the weather better than Rapids 2 did, and it compounded when Ian Murphy got his second yellow in the 71st minute, I think it was, and after that point, the SKC2 was able to tie it, and when it came to pens, they just looked deflated. I think they were just all out of it by that point.
I mean, that game really, Ian Murphy's red card was earned, and he knew it. He immediately just head down, walked straight off the pitch, up the stairs and into the locker room. No contest from him. The real turning point was that Johan Ortiz penalty that was awarded in the 85th minute. Fans in the crowd were hot about that one. That was Andre Eriksson had gotten pulled from behind by Ortiz, which then looked like Andre was then cutting down Ortiz as he went into the box. We saw the replay a few times. The foul looks like it occurs just outside the box, but the ref awarded it as a foul in the box, which resulted in that penalty, which did take around 5 to 8 minutes before they actually took that. There was so much of the ref kind of jockeying with the teams to line up properly, but he did end up burying that on Zach Campagnolo.
I think the only other thing we know that R2 spent most of the preseason down in Florida. I don't have offhand where SKC2 were, or if it's been, I don't think Kansas City's been any colder or any more snowy than the other plain states that have had really barren snowpack this season. But I do think it was underwhelming, or at least disappointing, that the team handled that worse than Kansas City did, and in particular doing it from a position of strength of being at one point up 2-0. And that's not characteristic, albeit the small sample size that we have. The only other team that's really come in and either played the USMNT or DU or the Rapids first team to that same level in those kind of weird weather, ironically, was Comunicaciones against the Rapids first team in Conca Champions. So, I would say that was a little bit disappointing. Keith, I'll throw it to you. I mean, where are we in terms of just concern for how the season started? You guys talked last episode about how, the team last year didn't get a win in their first two games. But, at this point, are we wondering that there's a bit of a new group of players, there's shuffling, you lose Sidney Wathuta, you lose Bilo Diop, or at least midway through preseason that they're going to be with the first team. Is this just a chemistry thing and it's going to take a couple weeks for Eric Boucher to kind of get things right, or is there a bigger concern that maybe the roster on a whole has regressed, even if Donovan Phillip is cooking?
I think the attack is fine. The issue is not the attack. I think the issue is what we saw in their second match, since we've last recorded against, I guess now the Quakes 2, because they were the down, I believe. And then I found out game day that they're down Quakes 2, so that's news. But they lost that one 4-1, and that is absolutely the worst they've looked playing out of the back in all of their matches so far. I mean, there's really not a whole lot to talk about in that game. They were just getting blitzed, absolutely. And as good as I think Zach Campagnola is, um, there's stretches where he looks like he is getting there playing out of the back, and then there's stretches where he looks like he's in a complete panic when it comes to playing out of the back, and he makes mistakes that you don't normally see him make. So I think, and like you said, it's a small sample size, but there is starting to be some cause for concern that maybe there's something that they either need to do different, or Boucher and Wells need to get together and say, okay, this is not working. What can we do so that they're getting parts of the system, but they're still in a position to excel, because they're not excelling with what they're being asked to do right now in the defense.
Keith, I think that point you raised on the back line's pretty salient. This has been their fourth match, and they've had three different center back combinations. The first match was Captain Charlie Harper in the back with Vincent Rinaldi. As it were, Vincent Rinaldi probably still out another 2 weeks. He's having some difficulties with tendonitis in his knees. And then they went to the pairing of Charlie Harper and the newcomer Kai Thomas. And then you saw in the 2-2 draw against SKC in the Snow Classicito that it ended up being Ian Murphy on an impromptu cameo, in which they paired him with the youngest member outside of Nathan Chumba in Grant Gilmore, playing beside him in the center back pairing before going back to Charlie Harper and Kai Thomas in this last one. I think if the idea that you're having to build out a complex system of building out of the back, and we've seen with the first team that Rob Holding or Lucas Harrington are often either the top or second most touches in the game, that they're tasked with implementing the same system at the second team level with a much more rotating cast of center backs. It's just naturally going to take a lot longer to gel.
It's a bit of a conundrum as well, when you look at it statistically. Statistically, they're fourth in MLS Next Pro right now in possession. On the average right now, 56.5 percent possession per match. But then you look at the attack itself, which I think is where they're kind of missing off, like getting out of the back to the attack. Their bottom half of the league in touches and opponent in opposition box was 79, 19th to be exact. 15th in big chances missed with 9. Or no, they're 15 in big chances with 9, but they're also 8th in big chances missed with 7. So it's once they actually get the ball out of there, the attack is shown is very dangerous, but they're also not hitting on that attack, which I think puts a little bit more pressure on the defense. I mean, they're possessing the ball well, but it's not good possession. A lot of that possession is in the back, and they're getting picked off quite a bit, and that's a lot to put on Dak, who is probably one of the best keepers in MLS Next Pro. But when you have to do it multiple times a game, that's a tough ask for any keeper.
And we've seen this in Rapids 2 seasons in the past as well, Keith, where and I think ironically this was also this was either I think it was either Robin Fraser's second year or first full season, so 2022, or it might have been the first year under Chris Armas, where I remember speaking to Eric and he was talking about how it took him a few weeks or all of preseason in order to understand what the new head coach wanted tactically. And so when the Rapids 2 manager is learning things on the fly and then also trying to implement them on the fly amid new players, that can take a little bit of time. It was Rapids 2's first year now, because I remember that season was particularly difficult. Darren Yapi was getting minutes and actually scoring goals with R2, and then it would have been Abe Rodriguez in goal, and I was covering one of the games that they just got absolutely shellacked. It was when playing out of the back goes horribly wrong. It was basically a highlight reel of that. And Abrod was captain. He was the first player that was made available for media. And I asked him, like, Abe, I'm not trying to be critical or anything, but like, what's going wrong, or what do you think needs to be better? And he said, I try to speak confidence into my teammates, but just like right now, we're not executing, and that's making it really, really difficult. And I asked, do you think this is something that can work, or it's going to take more time, or at what point do you change the system? And he said very, very confidently, if we get this right and we play to the level I know that we can, we will start to get results. That ended up happening in the second season. I believe that was the team made the playoffs. They beat Quakes 2, and then I think lost in the conference finals to Austin, if I'm remembering my years correctly. So I'm not surprised now, especially with Sydney Wathuta and Bilo getting first team deals and under a new head coach, that they're trying something ambitious tactically and it's taking time to implement. I absolutely think they have the talent, or at least I think Zach is a good quarterback at the back of the defense, to where if they just get more reps for a month with the same lineup, and we'll see what this means. Keith, I'd be curious to know your thoughts on Ian Murphy getting, I don't know, we'd say demoted to R2 for the weekend, what that looks like. But this team is very much a work in progress. I'm not yet ready to be concerned about them 3-4 games into the season.
Yeah, I don't think it should be full out panic. And going back to a question you asked earlier, I actually do think they have a better squad than they did last season. It's just it just doesn't look great because they're playing a completely different way of ball this year than they did last year. But I think once they do figure out how to play out of the back, or they find a medium, what they can do, it's a disgustingly good attack for MLS Next Pro that they have. You have Kamani Stewart Baines, you have Sidney Wathuta, looks like he's gonna play a good portion of the season with R2. Jonathan Phillip looks like he's gonna be there all season. Bryce Jameson got his first goal in that last match, who looks really good as well. Once they get it outside of that defensive third and they're getting closer to the midline and then getting into the attacking third, they look amazing. But the problem is now getting used to the system and getting it out of that defensive third. Because once they do get it out of there, I don't know if there's many teams that can do a whole lot to stop them. They just got to get through some growing pains to be able to get to that point.
I think if we dial back to the game against the what I was learned, like you, Keith, is not the town FC, is San Jose Quakes 2. Those first 7 minutes, I think, showed up how easily R2 can spring an attack with that talent you just talked about. Donovan Phillip and Bryce Jameson in particular looked like they were just going to have a field day on the midfield and back line. San Jose Quakes 2. I think getting back to that chemistry thing that we talked about is Sidney Wathuta also as being kind of moved around the R2 formation in a way that's specifically designed to mold him into the type of player that Matt Wells wants in the first team. So we've seen Sydney kind of drop a little lower, play up as the attacking mid, but then also get out on the wings. And we really don't have a consistent spine yet from last year. We've got Zach at the goal. We've got Charlie that's been playing at the center back, but we're not seeing the same midfield. I think Copeland and Strohmeyer from last season have both had alternating starts, but we've now got Chris Aquino, Bryce Jameson, and Donovan Phillip really running that attack. So I think, like, like we've kind of intimated, this is a time thing, not a talent thing.
And not to mention, guess who's back, coming back more? James Cameron, who is someone who was amazing last season. It's probably between him and Sydney the biggest Swiss Army knife that Boucher has because he played left wing, started off in the back line. I wouldn't put him past him to try to play some in the midfield as well. Um, he's been a key player missing that they've missed in these first few games. It's probably going to take him a little bit longer to get fully fit, but it's just another option as well, as far as, especially when you consider possession, because he can do so many things on the field. So, yeah, no cause for concern, but it's just something you just got to get out of that funk and get used to the system.
Um, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna say, correct, Keith. It's a Canadian Army knife, Keith, the Canadian Army knife. When he subbed on in the 67th, 76th minute, it seemed like a different team. His energy and his coverage is just something that team severely benefits from, and I think is going to be key to implementing a Matt Wells style system at the R2 level. Matt?
I was gonna say, Matt, not only it's a Canadian Army knife, but there are Canadian Rockies, which if you go south, you get to the Colorado Rockies. So could we have a Rocky Mountain Army knife here?
Ooh, I
I've
like
been
that.
I've been trying to think of more nicknames as well to come up with. It's been a while since I've coined one, and I've normally tried to avoid that, but they're kind of fun, something to think about. I can't remember what else I was gonna say. I had a brain fart
I
as
think if
well.
we're going that route, we got to go like Rocky Mountain Machete. I want like the danger and the alliteration in there.
Rocky Mountain pickaxe, but I mean he's more of a he's a precision tool. He's not a bludgeoning or he's not a blunt
Have you
instrument in
have
any
you
way.
watched James Cameron play? He is not a precision tool. He is straight YOLO ball. James Cameron exists on vibes and effort.
Okay, well I don't think like vibes and effort is not what I think of when I think about swinging a pickaxe in order to there has to be some level of precision. I guess the pickaxe is a precise instrument. We have to come up with what I will speak to my local REI employee and get a better understanding of what exactly like if James Copeland was was an REI piece of equipment that one would use in Rocky Mountain National Park, what is he?
I feel like he's that survival knife that also has like the paracord handle, so it just has so many uses.
Possible.
Keith, bring us out of REI.
All right, so I'll pose the question to you both then. Or I guess not so much a question, but so give me three players who need to shine for the team to kick in the high gear. One defender, one midfielder, one attacker.
I'll
And I'll
start.
offer any time to think about it.
Okay, so let's go position by position, Mats, because I had an immediate thought for defender. I haven't been disappointed in Charlie Harper as an individual this season, but if I'm thinking about who's a leader that's kind of get the unit in control, because I think we all agree like Zach hasn't been part of the problem, he can be part of the solution. But I think if there's an opportunity for someone to be a leader by example, but then also be an organizer. Like, I would say that that's Charlie Harper right now in terms of the defensive shape and what they're doing with the ball and without the ball. Matt, do you agree, disagree, or is there another defender who you see as being a bigger differential or force multiplier within that unit?
I think your point is salient with Charlie Harper. I think it's whomever Charlie is paired with to the right of him and directly in front of him are going to be the most impactful defensive changes or kick-ons for the Rapids too. Charlie is vocal. He's smart with the ball at his feet, but there's just like we saw in the North Texas game, I think on one of the goals with the own goal on Nathan Chumba, or one that it seemed like Kai Thomas was immediately hands on his head when it went in. It's going to need to be someone more consistent beside and in front of Charlie.
I would agree, or I'll yes and that, Matt, and say that I think that triangle of the D mid and the two center backs, that is the most important. Like, what's the if I get a single unit and then magically make that unit get its stuff together? I think that's the foundation brick of the foundation column that right now needs repair in this Rapids 2 team is that one. And I think if that one gets right, the rest of the structure is way more stable. I guess, Keith, I'll throw it to you then. Which midfielder are we saying is the most important one? If it's Charlie and whoever his partner is, who's the anchor in midfield who's helping stabilize that tripod?
I think it's I hate to put such pressure on such a young kid, Nathan Chumba.
Mm.
He's had moments where he's looked a little out of place, but he's not even 16 yet. Yeah, I think he's still 15. But he's a big boy. I don't know if people realize it. He's according to what he's listed as, I think he's only an inch shorter than Lucas Harrington, which means by the time he's done, he could be a 6'7" CDM, which would be insane. But he does. Coach Boucher is very high on him. He has moments where he looks really good as well. Because it's not only just playing it out of the back to the open man, is being able to be strong enough on the ball that he can't be picked off, which happens a lot to them as well. So if they can secure the ball in the back, get it to the middle, he could be strong on the ball, be able to get it out to either one of the wingers or Jabari Dakota. That's going to go a long way. So I think once he gets settled, gets used to the physicality, the style of play that there is in MLS Next Pro, I think that's going to go a long way for the team.
I think Keith's spot on that one. The Rapids are fully content to live and die by the learning curve of Nathan Chichuma. He's stepping into Dowda Amadou's shoes in that role, who was a calm, consistent leader for he was 3 years with the second team. So that's a huge leadership and decision tree void to fill. But they are so high on this kid, Nathan, rightly so, that they're going to take the knocks as he gets there.
And I think there's absolutely, I mean, like, we're here for Rapids 2. All three of us are. If you're listening to this podcast, you absolutely are. And I can understand where fans who are interested in this team are underwhelmed if the team got to a final. Like, you go to a final, you lose the final. The only thing really you can do to better that performance in the following season is to go back, get to the final, and win the championship. But I absolutely think there's a scenario in which the team regresses in terms of where they finish in the regular season, what, if anything, they do in the playoffs, and this is still a season worth paying attention to and remembering because of the progression and the development we would see in a Nathan Tchumba, in a Grant Gilmore, or in the other players as well. I guess, Keith, to then say attacker, you didn't explicitly say they had to be a striker, Keith. So I'm going to throw out one, Bryce Jamison, who did get a goal against the artist formerly known as the Town FC. But just like the conversation we've had in the last 2 weeks about Paxton Aronson, about how it's not just the goal contribution, but what is he doing between the boxes to help be the straw that stirs the drink. I think it was great that Bryce got on the score sheet, his first contribution of the season, but I want to see him a little bit more involved in the buildup. So once that triangle of Tchumba, Charlie Harper, and fill in your favorite center back pair for him gets stuff right, what is he doing out wide to be the facilitator to create more of those chances, in addition to finishing those chances that that he has as well? Because we've seen Bryce Jamison absolutely cook for the USL Championship. Matt, I think you had him on Pidcast probably this time last year when that pre-transfer, or when we knew that he was going to join the Rapids this year. So, okay, we've known that he can start and play really, really well in the USL Championship for Orange County, which is a very good team in the Western Conference. I would say that in my humble opinion, I think that Next Pro is slightly below the championship, but above USL League One right now. This is a guy who should be able to have big impact moments and be a good above average attacker in MLS Next Pro. I'm waiting for that player to show up. Happy to be patient, happy to give him 10 more games. But if there's just a low hanging fruit of give this guy another month, he'll get way better, that'll improve the team more, I think we can say that both of Tchumba and of Bryce Jamison right now.
Yeah, I said attackers specifically because that's all I had as well as Bryce Jamison. I kind of went in between him and Chris Aquino because I think they're both title. But I think Aquino is more of a known quantity. He's already performed really well. He had that banger of a free kick in there. I think it was their second match. But with Jameson, you see little moments in every game that he has. Um, and it was more surprising that his first goal came on the corner because I thought his first goal was going to come from open play because he's not really stocky, but he's taller than what you think. When you actually see him on the field, he's faster than what I thought he was going to be on the field. He's had moments where he can carry the ball pretty well and get dangerous in the area, but his finishes isn't quite there yet, which I think could be said of a lot of players. But from what we saw with him in Orange County, I thought we were going to see a little bit more a little earlier. So I think need to look a little bit more from him for them to be a little bit more successful in the attack.
Since you guys said the two, I was going to say I'll move on to. It's a bit cheating because he's on a first team contract, but Donovan Phillip. I mean, watching him play these 4 games, I know he had that breakout brace game, but this really does look like a man playing with boys during some portions of these games, and he could click on and just dominate the entire MLS Next Pro landscape in the time that he's not spending with the first team. And I think that's just one of those things like we talked about Bilo G up last year and Eric Boucher mentioned often is you have to game plan so much around a player like Bilo because of his size and because of his difficulty in spaces already covered by center backs that it opens up everything else for the rest of the team. And I think Donovan Phillip has that same sort of physicality and ball skill that it doesn't matter where he's receiving that ball, like on top of the 6, on top of the box, left, right, that he's going to require so much attention. It's going to make the Bryces, the Sids, the Chris Aquinos, Nathan Tjumba's job easier.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of probably someone that Matt Wells will love when he does get to the first team in Hoffa and what he can do with his hold up play. He's probably a little bit more meatier than Hoffa too, so he's a lot harder to get off the ball. Uh, but even then, when they want to put it over the top, he's more than fast enough to be able to do that as well. Yeah, I think that breakout brace game was just the beginning. I expect him to probably pull a D'Lo and be in contention for probably Golden Boot once he really gets going.
I would
I would
agree, Matt, that I'm also waiting for, Donovan Phillips had a really good start to the season, and I think the fact that he shows up, we should probably ask Porik or Matt Wells this of how much of he did really good stuff in preseason, therefore that meant that he was going to sign a first team deal rather than a Rapids 2 deal, given that he was a draft pick. Like similarly, what was their thinking on the timing for Sydney or Bilo as well? But he had to have done something to impress or in order to get that. So I think clearly the talent's there, clearly it's clicked. But to your point of he's done a good job of being the man or being the best player, but at what point is he an impact player to where he's the thing that other teams focus on and he can still be effective as a superstar for this team or make it easy for other players as well? Like there's so much that Rafael Navajo has done for the Rapids this season that's made it easier on Darren Yapi, made it easier on Paxton Aronson. If Donovan Phillip can figure it out to where he gets his while having the center backs be completely occupied with trying to stop him and still Donovan can win those matchups and get on the score sheet, that then makes life easier for the midfielders, the other attackers, Copeland, Bryce Jamison as well. Like that's another really good force multiplier of just the give him another month, let him click and let them do that. He'll be great, and it'll make it easier for the other players around him. I think right now there's a lot of players on this team that have done a good job being good individuals. They're still figuring out how to be a good team, and they're still figuring out how to be good teammates to each other in one or two, or in 2-person units, or in 3-person units.
And I want to jump on that point. I think we talked about preseason earlier. R2 started their preseason 3 weeks later than the Rapids. So as far as learning this system, I'm giving them the grace of being kind of 3 weeks behind the first team in their comfort and security with the ball in the back, particularly.
Yeah,
I think
3
this is,
weeks out of the just 3 weeks shorter in the system, and it has to be said, it's not some people think it's a cop out, but that's 3 weeks away from Colorado learning a very physical, demanding Mountain West system. And they haven't had a lot of home games either. Like, their next match is back on the road again in St. Louis City. And I think that's part of it too. Uh, there's when you get to minute 60, minute 70, they are looking a lot more sluggish, which is something we're not used to. Because last season they were running people off the field a lot of times at home. So I think once they get the fitness level that they want to be at, that's going to help a lot as well.
they are so the fitness regimen for the first team is identical to what they're feeding the second team. They're running the same sort of heart rate drills, all of trying to hit all of the same metrics. So they are catching up to that physicality that even Matt Wells talked about with Miguel Navarro coming in. He doesn't expect them to be there uh, right off the bat. So taking that 3 weeks into it. But then what you said, Keith, Eric Boucher at the end of the game against North Texas seemed to take ownership, but also seemed like a coach of a team that was gassed. He said they'd probably had 1 day off as a team since the start of that preseason. They got 4 days off after the North Texas game, and then they were back at training again. So this is probably a team that needs to kind of catch up with the momentum of the season and catch their breath.
All right, so their next match due to the international break isn't until April 10th. Which I said they'll be playing St. Louis City 2 on the road. A rich history between these two teams. They played each other 10 times now. R2 holds a slight advantage. They're 4-3-3 against St. Louis City 2. St. Louis City 2, though, has won two of the last three matches last season. They won 2-2 on pens, and then they were one of the best teams in the Western Conference last season, which they are again this season. So far, St. Louis City is 3-0-1 with a shootout win. They've got 11 points, goal differential of +8, 12-4 for against. Rapids 2 are 0-3-1, so you just got the 1 point. Their goal differential, unfortunately, is a -7, 4 goals for, 7 against. Oh, no, that's not right. It's -7. The 4 goals for, 11 against, I think is what it is. But again, they're on the road. Probably their toughest opponent all season. Um, what do they need to do to get that first win for the season against a really good team?
I think can be consistent. They need a lineup that they've played at least twice. They need a center back pairing that they've played at least twice. So that's probably going to look like Charlie Harper and Kai Thomas again in St. Louis. Um, but what this team is going to win off the back of is that consistency that's going to build that confidence, and they'll get back to the R2 that we knew last year that could wildly swing the course of a game just via momentum. And as they catch their breath, as they gel together, that's the key to this. And they're facing a team that is very similar to themselves. This was the kind of the John Hackworth effect. I in the offseason, I was hoping John Hackworth might get involved in our organization. Somehow he ended up taking the job with Navy, but this was a technical director, general manager. He was the St. Louis Swiss Army knife, but very much put the onus on Louis 2 being the proving ground for St. Louis 1, and their results followed course. So I think this is a look in the mirror moment of this team is now without John Hackworth, St. Louis 2, and still doing well. And Rapids have a new system, but they have the same players ready to do well.
I would say even beyond just consistency, Matt, like this team hasn't put together a 90-minute performance yet. So I would like to see just, look like not even like play really good or up to your potential, just like look like the team that you want to be. Can they look in a shape performance-wise? Can they look like that? Can they be good with the ball, or can they be good in all of the phases as well? So, if that's, Keith, we talked about earlier about how against SKC at times too, they were a little bit frantic. Against Quakes too, they weren't necessarily good on the ball. Can they be good on the ball? Can they be good without the ball? Can they be not bad on set pieces, either attacking or wise? Like, can all three of those phases be a 7 out of 10? If those three phases are a 7 out of 10, I think they can get a result on the road for that. And then to your point, Matt, as well, about how these are two teams that are stylistically similar. How many times do we see to where that the shape is the same, or the style of playing what they're trying to do is the same, and the team that just shows more intensity is there? So Matt, I'll quote, or I'll yes and you on just the intensity of, if they come out there and they play with energy and they don't drop the ball, pun intended, in any of those three phases, can this team absolutely go out and get their first win of the season? Or I don't know, what's as a podcast, are we viewing a result in penalties? Does that count as are we counting that as a win? Are we counting that as winning the game? No,
No,
we say no.
count that as a tie with a bonus point, because
Okay,
that's
well then.
what.
Okay, well
Actually,
I will.
that's not true. Because penalties have been such a boogeyman to this team, I think maybe a win in penalties is even stronger than a win in regulation, because it's a mountain this team needs to climb.
Being the better team, both on the eye test and the metrics that they care about during the 90 minutes, and then winning penalties, will absolutely be a step in the right direction for this group. So I will say that is a moral victory, and that is an actual draw with then winning penalties as well. Either way, it would be a step in the right direction. I would almost take, I don't know if this is going to be a crazy thing to say, like, I will take the show me the better performance almost without the result. I will feel better about this game than I will have at the end of the Sporting Kansas City loss in PKs.
I do have to take one thing back. There is actually a special column on the MLS Next Pro site for shootout win. So it's not a win, it's not a draw, it's a shootout win. That's what they deem it as. The one thing I'm interested to see is if Ian Murphy is back with the team. I was surprised that he was there in the first place. that kind of threw me off. I think at this point we can say he's out of the plans, mostly with the first team. So it'll be interesting to see if he's back or not.
I don't have any inside information here, but my tinfoil hat is the Ian Murphy appearance on R2 was to get game footage to shop him at the trade deadline.
I hope not. not with that game.
Well, it didn't. If that is the case, Matt, and I'm not saying you're wrong or that I don't like your thinking, because you were on the Kevin Cabral tinfoil hat stuff last summer before I was. If that was the goal, it did not succeed.
Which actually, that raises another point to almost go against and fly in the face of my consistency point is, are we going to see this April 10th match as the first minutes that Georgie Manungu and Kosi Thompson get in Burgundy? Because I imagine they might not be ready to go full out on April 4th against Toronto, but they're going to want to integrate those two players into Matt Wells' system and also start upping their fitness. So we might see those two in St. Louis for that matchup on April 10th.
I will say Kosi, yes. Georgie, no. I think because who do the Rapids have on April 11th? Is it Houston at home? Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fun fact.
So I would say that Matt Wells would back Keegan Rosenberry maybe in a 1v1 matchup with Sam Vines in that scenario, to where Keegan would get that start and there would be less of need of another right back on the bench. And I would say the pushing the Gam boat out for Georgie would be enough urgency to where you'd want to see him with the first team.
Right. Final prediction.
Just my speculation 2 weeks out.
Final
Oh,
prediction.
I think it's great.
What do you got for this match? A loss, a draw, a shootout win or a loss, or a win?
I will say 1-1 in the 90 minutes. Give me Charlie Harper on a set piece to score for Rapids 2. And I think Zach pulls the rabbit out of his hat and they get the result in pens.
I don't like this prediction. I think this is a 2-2 draw. And I still think we lose in the Pens shootout. I just think St. Louis 2's defense is really good. They do give up some goals to good teams, but they also put up a lot of goals this season. So I think if we're still shaky on the back line, the goals happen for both sides and we get a draw. I think the scorers on our two side are going to be Donovan Phillip and I think Chris Aquino.
Well, unlike Monk on Sister Show podcast, I will pick a loss, even though I don't like to. It's not a knock against R2. St. Louis City is just good. They have been for several years running now. I'm gonna go 3-2. I think it's gonna be a good looking loss. To where they're competitive for a lot of the match. St. Louis just scores a lot. And I think getting 2 goals against them would be great because they've only given up 4 all season. So I'll take goals from Phillip again, and then I think Sydney's gonna open up his.
I like it.
All right, well, that's all we have for you today here for R2P2. Great having you on the show, Mr. Pollard. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I feel better than I did at the start, and I apologize for being the source of chaos to open the show.
Hey, we love chaos here.
Beautiful chaos.
Where can people find you at when you're doing your work?
Yeah, you can check out my written work at burgundywave.com, Holding the High Line with Rabbi and Red, wherever you get your podcasts. We're up for the week going into the weekend, mostly talking Denver Summit, less so on the Rapids 2 front. That's part of why there's a great vacuum that R2P2 is filled. And I'm mostly over on Burgundy Sky these days, as opposed to the hellscape that is the other website. You can follow me there at by Matt Pollard.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us again. And as always, may the force be with you.